Have you ever wanted to start a business, but you don't have any idea where to start and you don't have the cash flow to begin? In the next 2 episodes, I'm going to be talking about how exactly to get started with a new business, even if you don't have the cash to get going. So over the last couple days, I've had people get in touch with me on my John Smulo TV Facebook page. If you haven't stopped by there, say hi, like. I always post new updates over there. And the people that got in touch with me over the last couple days have been asking, after watching the channel, how did you get started and how can I get started with a business as well, especially if I don't have the funds, especially during the pandemic, to get started. So my story really started in the same way. In 2008, I started my first business. At the time it was called Purple Cow Websites, now it's called Purple Cow Agency. I'd just gone through a really difficult time in my life. I'd been through a divorce. I moved out of the house, the family house that I owned, and I literally had nothing to start off with. I moved into an apartment far from the nicest area in town, and I spent what little I had to make sure that my kids had beds, and I got plates and cutlery and all the basic things that you need to be able to live in a new place. And at that time in my life, I'd had a different career up to that time, and I wanted to find something new. I felt like it was time for a change in my life, and so I created a resume and I started knocking on doors and trying to find work. And I found that my past career was so different that I couldn't really find a connection with people where they wanted to hire me. And so nobody else would give me a job, and I still had bills to pay and kids to take care of. So I gave myself a job, and that's why I started Purple Cow back in 2008. But very similar to 2020, in 2008, it was a very challenging time. It wasn't a health crisis, it wasn't a pandemic, but it was a financial crisis. Businesses were going out of business left and right. People were losing their homes, or they were getting foreclosed on, short sales. And it was a very challenging time for everybody. And I was not smart enough at the time to know that maybe it wasn't the best time to start a business when nobody had any money to spend. But being naive, fortunately, what I did is I thought about, what do I enjoy doing in life? And one thing that always interested me was building websites. And I had a friend of mine when I lived in Australia, Rod, and I would peek over his shoulder and watch him put together websites. He was typing code, and for me it was literally a different language. I didn't know what he was doing, but it amazed me that he can really just type different codes, and a website would be the result of it at the end of the day. And so there was another friend of mine, Reba, in California, that agreed to spend some time with me, just about an hour in a coffee shop, teaching me how to put together simple websites. And after that hour, I started to teach myself more, but pretty quickly, because I had to figure out a solution of how to pay the bills really quick. When I learned just kind of enough to do the very basics, I sent out an email to basically everybody I knew, and I just simply said, I am starting a company called Purple Cow Websites, and if you or anyone that you know needs a website, get in touch with me. And I expectantly hit send to the email, and then I heard nothing for a day, and then a week, and then another week. But then the third week, I had a friend of mine that knew of a counselor that needed a website. And she put me in contact with Rich, and he became my first client for Purple Cow 12 years ago. And one of the things I'm proud of with Purple Cow is that Rich has continually been a client to this day, 12 years later, with us. So Rich, if you're watching, thank you for those 12 years. But I gotta say, don't tell Rich, I really didn't know a lot of what I was doing at the time. I knew enough to get started, but after a pretty short time, I learned that there was so much left for me to learn more. And so either I was gonna need to go back to school to be a better web developer, or I should say a real web developer, or I was gonna need to hire someone smarter than myself. So again, by that time, 3 to 4 months into things, I only had a little bit of money. I was really just kind of making it by. It was a new business during a pandemic. But what I did is I made use of other people that were experts out there, and I made my first hire. I couldn't afford to hire someone local at the time, so I found someone online, Nguyen from Vietnam, who really was very talented with putting together websites, and he became my first contractor that helped me out with building websites. And this meant that I was able to expand things further than I was able to do on myself and really grow the business very professionally. So after that time, we really grew with our customers. To begin with, we only created websites, but then we had a client that said, "Do you do social media marketing?" And we didn't, but we said, sure, we did. And so I found someone that was an expert at social media marketing, and I got to work learning about social media marketing myself, and we started to offer that to our clients. Later, another client, and then another and another asked if we do search engine optimization. And so we again grew with somebody that had a lot of expertise in that area, and we kept growing with our clients until we finally became a pretty comprehensive digital marketing agency, able to do virtually everything. The thing is that we started off slow. At first, it was just me. And then we grew to another web developer and then another. And at the beginning, we only offered one service. We didn't try doing too many, but we grew with our clients. And after starting off with one service, we did another and then another. And we didn't have an office to begin with. At first, our team was remote. It was me in California, another employee in Vietnam, slowly others in the team in California, but we were all working remote. And after about 1 or 2 years, we finally got our first office in California, and we kept growing. But I think the important thing with anybody that's thinking about starting a new business is to realize that you need to start with the end in mind, but you're not able to start at the end. You still got to start with the means that you have. You know, for me, I started off with about $150 to start my business, and even that I honestly didn't have at the time. I used it to buy a business permit. I already had a laptop, and I made it happen from there. So I made use of the resources that I had in hand. I think so many people wait in life until they have enough. You know, I hear people that say they want to wait to get married until everything's stable, or they want to wait to have kids until they have plenty to give them, or they want to wait to start a business until, you know, they have a very large savings in the bank. For me, I've never been like that. I always think that if it's time to start now, I'm going to make use of the things that I have. And if I have nothing, then I'm going to find a creative way to turn nothing into something. With Purple Cow 12 years ago, $150 that I really didn't have that I started out with, I just put the pieces together, one piece at a time. So what's the secret to a successful business start? I think the secret is finding something that you can do, finding something that is within your means financially and your means mentally, emotionally, whatever you need to be able to do to start that business. You need to be able to have that within inside of yourself. Don't expect it to come out of thin air. Don't expect to tell people that you're starting a business and magically everything will start working and customers will start coming to you. Really, none of that's going to happen unless you make it happen. If you're looking to start a new business, you really need to look at what would you want to do even if you're not paid for it. Because the reality is you might not be paid for it for a while. You gotta find a way to get the ball rolling. So is there something that you're personally passionate about? Is there something that you're good at? Is there someone in your life that you could trust 100% as a partner to be able to do something together with? You know, many of the most successful companies don't start with one person. They start with 2 or 3 or even 4 people. But the thing is that even though some of the most successful businesses start with partners, those are often the most challenging businesses if you don't get it right. It's far better to start things yourself if you don't have a partner that you know for sure is going to complement your skills and that is going to be there and be able to resolve conflict and make decisions together in a really positive way. There's no more stressful thing in a business than having to deal not only with the challenges with customers and figuring out how to get customers and all of the unexpected things that arise with a business, while also having a partner that is a challenge to deal with as well. So think through those things wisely. And I would also say, where are you at in life? Do you have funds to invest in a business? Maybe you aren't like me when I first started Purple Cow. Maybe you have a bit more. What would be the lowest risk, smartest way to invest finances into starting that business? The other thing I would say is that so many people are invested in trying to make everything perfect with the business up until the day that it launches. But that's really the easy part. When there's no customers, no clients, when the doors haven't opened, when you haven't let people know about your idea, that's the fun part. That's the really easy part. But once you open the doors, you need to make sure that you also have extra resources to be able to market the business. If you don't do that, it's going to be very hard to grow and to sustain. So think about where it is that you are. Recently we started another company here in the Philippines this time called Delish Deli. And it's a food business, and we started this one off a lot different than I started off Purple Cow. Years later, I have some money in the bank, and I invested that into finding someone to build out the space, into finding a location that we thought would be great for the business, into hiring full-time employees at the very beginning, into investing more into marketing. Now I have a bit more resources to be able to start off the business differently than I did before. So you need to look into your own resources and decide what's the best way for you to start a new business. You might say, listen, John, this is easy for you to talk about. You're at a stage in your life where you're able to put money into starting a new business. I would love to start a restaurant, but I don't have the funds to do that. But listen, I think it's always easy to make excuses. If you want to start a business, then just start the business. Don't be one of those people that's always talking about what you'll do tomorrow. Think about what you would do today. And I'll tell you, this is what I would do if I didn't have any money to start Delish Deli. I would find recipes that either I could cook or someone close to me that could cook, because I'm a terrible cook. And what I would do is I would probably just start with 1, 2, maybe 3 different things that we could make that would be delicious. Here in the Philippines, some of the food laws are honestly a little bit easier than if I was starting in a place like the US. So what I would do is I would put those different food items on Facebook. I would tell my friends to share and tell their friends, and I would get people to buy on Facebook, and I would deliver those myself. This is if I had no money. So remember, there's no excuses. Or say that I was somewhere like the US or Europe that had a little bit stricter food laws than they do here. I might hire out just a little bit of time in a cloud kitchen where I was able to bake things or make things to be able to sell. And I would use, whether I was in the Philippines or the US or somewhere else, I would use delivery services like Food Panda or Uber Eats or whatever food delivery services are in your area. The reality is that a lot of those food delivery services are more popular than ever. So during a pandemic, when people aren't able to dine in, or perhaps they don't want to dine in because they don't feel safe, it's a great time to make use of those food delivery services. The interesting thing with that is that whether you had a budget of a few $100,000s to start a new restaurant, or whether you're just starting something out of your own kitchen, on those food delivery services, you have the same really footing. It's all equal. People really could care less if you have a huge restaurant. What they're looking at is your photos and your food. And so think through these things. Don't just give up because you don't have the resources to start your own business. There's an opportunity for people to start a business regardless of if they have zero budget or if they have quite a large budget. And frankly, regardless of your budget, it's best to start off as small as you possibly can, effectively, and then learn and grow from there. So tell me, what is your passion? Is there a business idea out there that you want to do, but you are afraid to do, or you don't have any idea how to get started? Drop a comment below. Let me know what your idea is. I love talking to people thinking through being an entrepreneur, want to start a new business. Let us know your ideas, and I'm sure not only myself, but others in the comments below will be able to help you get a fresh start. Take care. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Have a great day.